Jesse, you want to go ahead and try that question again?
Yeah. Caesar, did you get any feedback on your NFL draft prospects this season? If you did, what did they say, and why did you decide to come back?
I didn't get too much, I talked to Coach Chris, and it was just more so, I'd say just being consistent in what I do. Sometimes I might have chose different ways to win different battles, but it's about winning those same battles the same way, no matter what the offense does or what that receiver does. So that's one thing I plan on improving, is just consistency in my technique, no matter what the situation is.
Jeff?
Caesar, I don't know if you remember talking to us after the Northwestern game about the flags that you drew. We talked to your new coach, Hank Poteat, about getting flags thrown, and he said, look, I'm not going to back down. I don't want my guys to back down. I want them to be physical. I'm guessing he's delivered that message to you. What's your reaction to that type of play?
I mean, I love that. I mean, we got any refs listening right now, but I love that. That just gives us a chance to keep making plays, and that makes receivers have to earn every yard that they do have to, earn against the defense. So I'd rather get a flag than a receiver catch a ball 40, 50 yards downfield. But I mean, if I got my eyes back and I'm trying to play the ball as well, and I mean, I think coaches see that just as good as a flag anyway. They see you downfield trying to create a turnover. At that point, is forget that flag if they don't agree with the call, because most defense coaches probably don't.
Colton?
Caesar, when we talked to Jim Leonard earlier this offseason, he talked about how splitting up the safeties and the corners kind of lets Coach Poteat be a little more detailed with the corners. How have you seen that through either your meetings or on the field, just having a dedicated corners coach?
I see it as a good plus for our secondary. Having Coach Leonard, coach both corners and safeties at one point in time was, it was pretty hard to just focus on one thing for either the corners to get better at or the safeties get better at. With us being able to split, it's easier for us to, focus on what corners got to focus on, or focus what safeties got to focus on. And corners and safeties don't always need to be doing the same drills because we're not in the same position on the field. Therefore, having Coach Poteat, we're able to sharpen our blade just by having another coach there, in individual drills, coaching us up.
Steve?
Just with your new position, Coach, what's his message kind of been for you guys this spring and this off season? And just as a cornerback group, where do y'all think y'all can get better this upcoming season?
I think we can get better in every aspect of our game, but I think one thing we can get better is just consistency day in and day out, being the same guy each and every day and not making the same mistakes twice.
Jake?
Caesar, it seems like we've seen you kind of working with different corners this spring, but two in particular, just how is it working alongside Alexander Smith and Dean Engram, and what do both respectively bring to the table in that cornerback room?
I say they bring competition to the cornerback room. As an older guy and as a starter, you can't get too high and you can't get too low. So, with guys like that competing every day with you, it makes you stay on your toes. And we're looking for that third corner, so having those guys compete and watching them compete and get better every day, it makes the whole group want to get better.
Back to Colton.
When you look at a guy like Aman Williams, comes in last year as a walk-on, just what stands out about him? At the times that we've been able to watch practice, it seems like he's, even if he's losing a battle, he's right there with a receiver and really challenging him.
Yeah, the thing about mine, I say his energy is different. Like being around Aman so much, he hates to lose and he refuses to lose. And no matter how many times he wins or loses, he's going to get back up and keep fighting with you. And that's why I like Aman. Aman plays like he has nothing to lose. So therefore, he leaves it all on the field every day. And even after practice, still wants to try and get better each and every day.
All right, we'll wrap things up for C's with one more from Jesse.
Caesar, were you surprised that Wisconsin decided to hire a cornerbacks coach, first of all? And since you've been working with Coach Poteat, what would you say are some of the really small technical things he's teaching that are different from what you learned before?
Yeah, it was kind of surprise to me for us to hire as a cornerbacks coach. I mean, I didn't expect it. But I mean, unexpected things can turn out great. One thing he focuses on a lot is, I think I was more so, well, the whole group was inconsistent in press, but not much as press, but we didn't play a lot of off man technique. And having Coach Poe in our room, he balances everything out. He teaches us press, he teaches us off man, he teaches us zone it's, he teaches us run fits, and it's not always too much emphasis on one area of play. It's a balance, and you got to be versatile to play in this game, and that's what he brings to the room is versatility.
All right. Thanks, C's. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right. We've got Faion with us now, and we'll get started for questions for him with Jesse.
And you got a lot of experience last season in the nickel role. Do you expect that to be a primary role for you this season? And what's your approach to handling that opportunity this year?
I want to be as versatile as I can be, whether that's playing outside or inside as needed. It was very fun to kind of get that experience last year. It kind of really fits my play style a lot, and probably can see myself playing a lot more of that in the future.
Go to Colton.
And Caesar was just talking about this, kind of looking for that third corner if you're going to be there in the slot. What have you seen from Dean Engram and Alexander Smith? Because Coach Chris has said those guys have kind of stood out early in the spring session so far.
Just a lot more consistency. They was young these past 2 years, but just like haven't seen a lot more ball. Those guys are just getting a lot more comfortable, being more consistent and making plays. And you can see the growth, and it's popping out on film. So I'm very proud of those guys stepping up.
Jeff.
And when Coach Poteat met with you guys for the first time, the corners, what were some of the things he shared with you about how he wanted you guys to play football once you got on the field together?
Being a lot more physical at the line, honing in on our techniques. With me and C's being older guys, he didn't want to change too much of our games, kind of want us to play ball, but just kind of give us little tips here and there. But the main thing he talked about was being physical at the line and being real technicians at the position.
Jake.
Faion, being a leader in that cornerback room, what are you seeing from a younger guy like Al Ashford as a mid-year enrollee? How have you seen him develop from just his first day of spring ball to now?
One thing that he surprised me as a freshman coming in is his ability to be calm and patient as a corner. You don't really see that a lot in younger corners, especially coming out of high school. And he has a real bright future, man. I'm excited for him as he gets more ball, gets more practices under his feet. That's a guy that I could say, you guys would be looking out for in the future.
Back to Colton.
Hey, Coach Poteat mentioned you kind of being the leader of the room and taking a lot of guys under your wing. Is that just something that you've developed over the last few years, being a little more of an experienced guy in the room, or where do you think that comes from for you?
I pretty much just say it's being myself. A lot of guys in the room, we were close, man. Just being that guy that they look up to or want to come to for advice, man, is very humbling for me. One thing that Coach taught me about is about just speaking up more, being more vocal, but just being myself. And like I said, me and the guys were real cool. We done been together since 3 years now, so it's not unnatural. It's just something natural, and we just click.
Back to Jesse.
And what kind of difference have you noticed with having a dedicated cornerbacks coach when you're in meetings or out there on the field compared to when Coach Leonard was in charge of the whole defense and then also the secondary collectively?
Yeah, we get a chance to really just lock in on the technique. Coach Leonard, as being a DC and the safeties coach, he has to focus on the whole defense and the safeties and the corners. So just having that corner coach to kind of just reiterate the little details so he's paying attention to just us instead of the whole defense. So just a lot more consistent with the technique, a lot more consistent with the coaching as far as our position and honing in on our position.
Wrap things up for Faion with one more from Jeff.
Fan, I'm sure most of the players agree that you weren't happy with where the team finished in the league last year, your record. Tell people why you think 2021 will be a better team overall.
I'll say the main thing is we get a spring ball. You know, last season we didn't get a spring ball, and you know, now that we're doing it now, I kind of realized, okay, that was a big impact because now we look, you know, better than we did when we first stepped on the field for fall camp last season. So it's like now we having a spring ball on our belt. A lot of guys getting comfortable. Fall time come, we can just hit the ground running and pick up where we left off. So, you know, 2021 gonna be a lot different. We're gonna shock a lot of people.
All right, thanks, Faion. Appreciate your time. All right, we'll wrap things up today with Dean, and we'll go ahead and get started with questions for him from Jesse.
Dean, what would you say are the biggest differences in the teaching technique and the things you're learning from Coach Poteat with a dedicated cornerbacks coach compared to what you experienced last year?
For sure. Coach Poteat is really just taking time, you know, break down every guy and see where we can improve our technique. Where I've seen more detail is just going through each and every guy and seeing how we can, you know, add on to our game from other guys in the room or from what we've done previously.
Jeff?
Dean, it looks like you and Alexander Smith have gotten plenty of work this spring, and your head coach always says that spring is a chance for guys to show they can be trusted. Where do you think you've grown this spring compared to where you were at the end of last season?
For sure. You know, we've seen tremendous growth as a whole unit, but specifically me, I've just, you know, seen more consistency in my off technique, press technique. You know, getting those reps has been really valuable to, you know, get the consistency under my belt.
Colton?
Dean, you're a guy that kind of moved your way up the rotation, especially coming through the special teams, playing a lot of those units as well. Do you think that helped you kind of just get ready for the speed of the overall game by the time that you were ready to play corner now?
For sure. You know, Coach Poteat always lets us know that to be able to, you know, be dominant on defense, you have to chip in on special teams and show you can play there. So adjusting to the speed of the game, you know, just came over time with the more repetitions. And as you mentioned, working my way up throughout the season, spending extra time with, you know, the older leaders in the room really helped me.
Back to Jesse.
Dean, it seems like in practices, there's a new set of corners on the field basically every play. What's that like trying to compete with that many guys? Do you feel like it pushes the group in general?
Yeah, it's been a great experience in spring. You know, we've been able to get a lot of guys, a lot of reps, and it only adds, you know, to the depth of our group. We've been able to, you know, have a lot of different guys who can come in and play on any down. So that always keeps the group, you know, on their toes and keeps us competitive.
Jake?
Dean, along with, I know you've been doing the cornerback work in the slot, but, you know, as a punt returner, you know, I know last year you did some, and then, you know, you've caught some punts and the practice is open to us. Just what does it take to be a punt returner? What goes into, how have you developed those skills to be where you're on the field doing those responsibilities?
You know, it takes poise and strong decision-making. You know, when you get out there, you have to have confidence in what you've done in practice. And that just comes with, you know, the reps that we take in practice, after practice, learning from the older guys in position, Jack Dunn and Danny Davis, along with Coach Leonard being back there, you know, being a return. It's always just good to have a lot of resources and learn from all those guys at one time.
Back to Colton.
Where do you think you've learned the most from guys like Caesar and Faion? Because when they've got that many snaps, I know it's been hard to kind of break through the rotation, but what do you think you kind of take from their games or learn from them in the meeting room?
Specifically, you know, me and Faion, we have similar press technique. So, you know, if we're on the field, I'll ask him about a certain, you know, technique or a certain way to do something, and he'll bounce back an idea. And it's just been really good to, you know, see them on film and their growth as well.
We'll wrap things up for Dean with one more from Jeff.
Yeah, Dean, when you guys first met Coach Poteat, what was the number one thing he stressed to you about how he wanted his corners to play?
You know, we have to have a dog mentality coming out there. We have to be able to, you know, hold our own and be the last line of defense. When it comes down to it, we got to be the guys that go down and make tackle down the field and make big plays down the field. We don't want to just settle for pass deflections and incompletions. We want to go take the ball this year. So.
All right. Thanks, Dean. Appreciate your time. Right. Alexander's with us now, and we will go ahead and get started for questions for him with Jesse.
Alexander, where do you think you've taken the biggest step since last season that's allowed you to compete for one of the spots in the 2 deep or maybe even a starting role at corner?
From last season to now, I would say just more consistency within my technique, understanding what I'm good at, my strong suits, what I'm kind of weak at right now, just getting better. I'm just being more consistent on the field within my technique.
Colton?
You mentioned there, but what were some of those areas that you feel like you've taken those steps at that have gotten you to this point right now?
I think one thing would be with my press technique. I think that was a big focus for me in my off season, and currently now going through spring ball, just working on that technique, the footwork, hand placement, all that goes into that.
Good, Jeff.
Yeah, Alexander, where do you feel more comfortable right now? Because there've been at times you've been on the outside, there've been times you've been in the slot, the nickel corner. Where do you feel best, at least at this point?
Honestly, I feel best at both positions. I've had a lot of reps at the nickel and at corner. So just those reps have helped me just be comfortable and be able to play.
Back to Jesse.
What would you say are the biggest differences in teaching technique that Coach Poteat has brought when you've got a dedicated cornerbacks coach compared to what you went through last year?
I would just say focusing more on the little things and the details within the film room and on the field. We're able to have a coach that's specifically for us and able to look at things more than what Coach Leonard was able to do because he was looking at more of the bigger picture of things.
Back to Colton.
It sounds like you and Dean Engram have been kind of the 2 standouts so far out of that cornerback position. Some of the things that Coach Chris has said as well. What's it like working with him? Because it seems like in that second rotation, especially, you guys are playing off each other quite a bit.
I love working with Dino. He's a guy. He's a real guy. He's a competitor. Looking to get better every day. He pushes me. I push him. I think we work great together.
All right, we'll wrap things up with one more from Jeff.
Yeah, when you met Coach Poteat for the first time, the corners got together with him. What was the message he gave you guys in terms of how he wants you to compete, how he wants you to play once you get on the field for both practice and games?
Yes, sir. The biggest thing I would say I felt would be he told us that he wanted corners that played with a dog mentality. Position, he just want dogs out there on the island. I think that's the biggest thing he's been preaching and has brought to our room.
All right, we'll do our actual last question. Another one from Jesse.
Caesar and Faion have the most experience in that group. Can you share what it's been like learning from them and what types of things they do to help some of these younger guys out?
I think Caesar and Faion are great leaders. They lead by example. Coming in, I was able to look at both of them ahead of me, just being able to take little bits and pieces here and there from their game, them being able to help me, coach me on the little things that I can get better at that have allowed me to become the player I am today.
All right. Thanks, Alexander. Appreciate it.
Thank you.